bold, be beautiful, and welcome to another Diamond Lioness video. If we have not gotten the chance to meet, I am Diamond Lioness, and this is my channel where every week I post a random video, sometimes two if I'm feeling really inspired. Today's video, if you guys couldn't already tell from the title, is going to be about my orientation to Radford University, better known as Quest, and then also the steps that I took in applying for my first apartment. So, if you guys are interested in hearing about my adventure to Radford University this past couple of days and my application and signing of the lease for my new apartment, then just keep on watching. Ever been to a four-year university, ever attended, then you probably most likely been to the orientation, whether you're freshman there or whether you transferred in. You've probably done some sort of orientation just so they can kind of tell you a little bit about the school, kind of what you'll be doing, kind of the rules of the campus, how to keep safe, what to do when you're living on campus, activities, getting your classes all organized and everything like that. So I actually did that yesterday at Quest, which is just Radford's version of orientation. My dad and I went down Wednesday night after we got home from work, and then Quest was actually on Thursday. It started, sign-in started at 8, and the whole orientation kind of wrapped up around 4:30, 4:45. So when you first got to Quest, there was people and they showed you how to park and they told you where to first go in. You went in, you signed in, you actually got a little name badge and a little packet of kind of what you're going to be doing that day, and then a map of the campus, and then just a little booklet kind of explaining a little bit about Radford, and it had a message from the president and a message from some of the students. And so that was in your little packet that you got when you first walked in. You also got a bag, and then in my bag I got a water bottle and a pen, and then one other thing from Radford, just to kind of welcome to Radford. And then the guests and the parents got a bag, but I believe they just got a pen in their bag, just kind of thanks for coming with the student to kind of support them in this and kind of see what Radford is all about. After we got our badges and our bags and the booklet and everything, I actually went down to a lower room, which is kind of like, it had a seating area. It was near where financial aid was, but it had like a seating area, and it was kind of a place you hung out. They actually had refreshments there. I went with the other students and got my picture taken for my class ID, and my dad went and kind of did refreshments and talked to financial aid to get a scheduled appointment so that we could talk to it. I actually didn't get to go, and I can explain that a little bit later why I didn't end up going with him to the financial aid appointment. But after I did the ID, we all went over to another building for the opening ceremony, the welcoming ceremony, which started, I believe it started at like 9:45, 10 o'clock was when it started. We had he was actually an alumni. He came out and kind of spoke on Radford and his kind of experience there when he came, and just kind of some points on Radford. Then we had another guy come out and he spoke on just getting involved and doing more than just showing up and doing classes and kind of doing school, but to actually get involved in like criteria outside of classwork. So doing like hands-on things, or getting involved in sports or in clubs, or hanging out with friends, and just making time to do something active and physical, just to kind of help keep your sanity and keep your stress down when you're in college. So that was really beneficial, just to kind of have him talk about all of that and just explain that. And he really emphasized the importance of getting out and doing things besides just studying all the time or working all the time, but to make time to actually do other things. During the opening welcoming ceremony, they had some student representatives come out, and they introduced themselves, kind of said where they're from, what their major was, and then they each had a sign, and that sign was what group number they would be kind of touring around and showing and explaining things to, making sure they got to different places on time. And so I was actually in group 7, which is just one of, I think there was 3 groups that was educational. If you don't know, I am going to be an elementary education major. And so I went into group 7 with a couple of other students. The parents and the guests, I'm not entirely certain what they did all day. My dad said they did some sort of classes or courses or something like that. They had like a bunch of classes and things like that. I think I looked at the schedule for theirs, but I couldn't really understand. It looked based on the schedule, it kind of looked like they were doing a lot of just kind of sitting around waiting on the students, but I'm not entirely certain. But the students went off, and we actually went to, I believe advising was the first place we went, and they brought in the lady who was the head of education advising, and then they also brought in a special ed advisor, a elementary ed advisor, a like hard of hearing advisor. There was like 2 others, because I believe there was like 5, like there was like the main director of education and advisor, and then there was like 5 lady, like 5 people below her. So after they kind of came and talked about what they do and their majors a little bit, they broke us off again into little groups. It wasn't necessarily the same group that I went with originally. They just kind of took based off of what year name in the list. They kind of separated 5 went with this one, 5 went with that one, just so that they could each student could have a not a one-on-one, but close enough to a one-on-one advisor. So we spoke with the advisor. I actually went with the special ed advisor and a couple of girls that I actually made friends with, and one of them is in the same major as me, so I hope to see her again in the fall in a couple of my classes. But anyway, she just looked over the paper. Before we got to Quest, the education advisor actually wrote out like 7 classes that she recommended we take the first semester there at Radford. And so we sat down with the special ed advisor once we got to Quest, and she kind of circled the 5 of the ones that she thought would be the best to take this first semester. And so I'm actually taking math, history, physical science, a special ed class, and then I can't remember. There's one other one I'm taking. So I'm taking 5. So I'm taking 16 credits this semester, this coming fall semester, and then in the spring, I'll have them help me figure out what classes to take then. But after we figured out all of that, she showed us actually how to, when we were going to go register, she showed us how we would get on the computers to the registering section, how we would use if y'all have heard of Blackboard, it's not Blackboard, it's called D2L, but she showed us how to use kind of like basically the Blackboard version, or Radford's version of Blackboard, to sign up for the classes and registered. I got them all in. It was a little confusing though, because a lot of the classes that I needed, their times and days overlapped, so I had to really like search to make sure I didn't double up on the same day of the same hours. And I actually have 2 classes where one of them starts at 8 and it goes 8 to 8:50, and then the second class goes 9 to 9:50, and then the first class that started at 8 has a lab that goes from 10 to 10:50. So I have to start in one class, go to another, and then go back to another class, which I'm hoping they're both in the same building. Otherwise, it's going to be really rushed. I think it was Tuesday and Thursday, so every Tuesday and Thursday it's going to be like really, really rushed. But that's okay. I can run. It doesn't matter. But after we did all of that, we went again with the group leader, and she actually took us to the bookstore. We had a little bit of time before lunch, so she took us to the bookstore, which at this point in time, they don't actually have any textbooks or anything, so it's more just like, it was just more like the school merchandise store, basically. And so it had like shirts and mugs and little knickknacks and, other clothing items, hats, socks, bags. I had a couple of books, but the books were more like entertainment purposes as opposed to textbooks. So we went and looked at that for a few minutes, about like 15 minutes before we went on to the next thing. And after we went to the bookstore, she took us to the cafeteria. Well, in Radford they have like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and stuff like that, but they also have like a cafeteria type thing where it's like a buffet style. And so she took us there for Quest. We, as the students, got one free meal for lunch because, paying thousands of dollars to be there. So we got that one. And then for the guests who came, it was $20 for the whole day, so they got a meal too. But we went in and we had our lunch. And then after we had our lunch, where did we go after we had our lunch? I believe we went to, we went to do some not classes, but it was just you sat down and they spoke to you. And one of them was like on-campus living, which doesn't apply to me because I'm going to be living off campus in my own apartment, which I will speak on next. But they did have some good ideas for if you're living on campus, just some things to do, things to be aware of. And then there was also ways to get involved, like clubs and different sports you can do, different teams you can try to apply for. There's going to be a thing called like the club fair or something like that, and it's like the 24th of August, which is like the day after I move into my apartment. So that's going to be like all of the clubs are going to be out, and you can go and you can sign up for them, get information on them, and all that good stuff. After that class, we went to another class, and they just spoke on basically, that was more like the health kind of aspect of the classes, because it taught you about where to go and what to do for your mental health, physical health, emotional health, like spiritual health. It also did how to keep yourself safe in terms of just walking around campus, stay with somebody, stay off certain paths, have certain areas, don't get drunk so you still are capable of reacting correctly and quickly in case of emergencies. Download their app so you can kind of be aware. There's an app that tells you if there's an emergency happening on campus, whether it's some kind of weather or whether it's like an active shooter or something like that, just to always stay alert for things like that. They told you about the police force, and then just kind of how to keep yourself safe from, or try to keep yourself more safe from like what is that word, like rape, sexual harassment, stuff like that. I was trying to think of like the word, the more common word, but I guess that would be it. So they just gave you ideas on how to keep yourself more safe and best ways to protect yourself from things like that. So that was in the second class, and after we did those classes, we walked around for a little bit. She kind of told us about the halls and things, the dormitories, and the different buildings and where the classes would be and things like that. After we went and did all that, we went in and we actually registered for my class or our classes, and that's when I was trying to figure out the times and the days to get them to line up. And they were closing like really fast because we had a couple groups before us that had gone in and registered, and so we went after, and so it was like we were like really rushing to get all of our scheduled courses in, which I did. I was able to get them all put in, right days, right times, and everything. And it's really good because I think on my Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, I get out, the latest I get out is like 2 in the afternoon, and then I think my Thursday, Friday classes, the latest I get out is 11. So I didn't want to do night classes just because I don't want to be trying to come home late at night. If I wanted to work, I would prefer to work in the afternoon, early evening, as opposed to working late at night or working really early in the morning, just because I would just prefer to do that. And that way it leaves your afternoons open if you want to hang out with friends, you need to do studying, whatever. It's just I would prefer to have earlier classes, the better. So the earliest ones are at 8 o'clock, which to me isn't that bad. Some people think it's really early. To me, it's not that bad. But yeah, once we did that, we went out, and I think that was actually, I'm trying to think what we did after register. Oh, we went and got our IDs, because our IDs, we had gotten our picture taken. We went and actually got our physical IDs. I don't have it with me right now, so I can't really show you what it looks like. But if you've ever gotten an ID from a school, it's just that card with your face and your name and your student ID number. So we went and got that, and then we actually went to the little fair that they had after that, which was just tables set up, and it had like the housing department, safety department, it had financial aid, it had tutoring. So